This video will provide a brief overview of how to paraphrase effectively. Whenever you put information you have read or heard into your own words, you are practicing the art of paraphrase. Simply put, a paraphrase is a restatement of an idea in your own words and style. You do this all the time in your everyday life. Whenever you tell someone something you read on the news or saw on social media, you were probably paraphrasing rather than directly quoting what you read. So you're probably already a master of paraphrasing, even if you don't realize it. There are, however, a few ways in which paraphrasing in college courses may be different than the way you've paraphrased in your day-to-day life. Much like in the real world, when you paraphrase in college, you are doing so to share information you found in a source, whether it was something you read or heard. When we paraphrase for a college assignment, there are some rules we should follow that will help us build our credibility and help us avoid plagiarism. You will use the art of paraphrasing in almost every college course you take, so learning this skill will prepare you for academic success. So remember, a paraphrase is a restatement of information in your own words. So first, in order to avoid plagiarism in college writing, an effective paraphrase must always give credit to the original source of the information. An effective paraphrase will also maintain the same meaning. If you change the meaning, you are no longer paraphrasing, you are likely responding. While the meaning should remain the same, you must use your own words and your own style. We'll go through some examples to discuss what this means in this video. In addition to changing the words, an effective paraphrase changes the structure of the original statement as well. So let's go through some examples to see what that means. To the left, we have a statement by former President Barack Obama. He says, "In a global economy where the most valuable skill you can sell is your knowledge, a good education is no longer just a pathway to opportunity, it is a prerequisite." To the right is a paraphrase of this statement. Let's see if it's an effective paraphrase. So the student says, "Former President Barack Obama once said that in a worldwide economy where the most treasured skill you can share is your knowledge, a quality education is not just a route to opportunity, it is a necessity." So take a moment to review each of these statements carefully. Is this an effective paraphrase? All right, let's break it down. Does it credit the original source? Of course. When it says, former President Barack Obama once said, that's a really good start because it's giving credit to the original person who stated the quote. It also retains the same meaning. Nothing has changed. They haven't misrepresented his words. So far it's looking pretty good, but let's keep breaking it down. Upon a closer examination, we may notice that the structure of the sentence doesn't change. Notice how the pattern of these two sentences is exactly the same. In the beginning, we have "in a global economy," and that just becomes "in a worldwide economy." Where the most valuable skill you can sell becomes where the most treasured skill you can share. A good education becomes a quality education. No longer just a pathway to opportunity becomes not just a route to opportunity. And finally, it is a prerequisite becomes it is a necessity. So notice how each of these phrases fall in the exact same place in the sentence, and the word order doesn't change. So because the structure of this paraphrase is the same as the original, this is actually a form of plagiarism, where the student just used synonyms, or words that mean the same thing, to try and change the sentence. Remember, a good paraphrase changes both the word choice and the structure, and that means the word order needs to change as well. So let's look at another example. So we have the same original quote, and our second example now reads, "Former President Barack Obama once said, a good education is a prerequisite for success. Not just a pathway to opportunity, because we live in a global economy where our knowledge is the most valuable skill we can sell." So take a moment and think about this one. Okay, let's break it down. Does this paraphrase give credit to the original source? Yes, much like the first example, they give credit. So let's check out the structure. Notice how this paraphrase begins with, "A good education is a prerequisite for success." If you look at the original quote, those ideas fell closer to the end and they were separated. You should also notice that while Obama began by discussing a global economy where knowledge is valuable, the paraphrase ends with the statement about the global economy. So the structure has clearly been altered in this paraphrase, but there is still a problem. Can you see it? This paraphrase sounds too much like the first because it copies the same vocabulary or word choice. Entire phrases like pathway to opportunity and the most valuable skill we can sell are copied and just moved around. So this is another form of plagiarism, and it's not an effective paraphrase. So you can't just change the word choice and just change the structure. A good paraphrase changes both of them. So let's look at one more example. So let's look at our final example. It reads, "Former President Barack Obama emphasized the importance of education as an absolute necessity, not one of many paths, to success in today's worldwide economy." So this example does give credit to the original speaker, and it maintains the same basic idea about the importance of education. Notice that the structure has changed. So they mention economy at the end, whereas the original quote mentioned it at the beginning. And you don't see entire phrases like "no longer just a pathway" or "it is a prerequisite" copied and just tweaked a little bit. Now, you may notice that there are a few words that do show up in both statements, but this isn't plagiarism. We see economy and education. Now, there are sometimes we have to use a word that is the same if there's no precise synonym that means exactly the same thing. So notice we don't copy entire phrases, we use singular words. And you don't want to do that too often if there is a synonym that will carry the same meaning. If you cannot rephrase a section of a quote without changing the meaning, you can always put part of it in quotation marks and use exact phrases if it's just too hard to find a good synonym. So remember, an effective paraphrase should give credit to the original author or speaker. We must know who said it. It should also maintain the same meaning. Don't add your own opinions or views when asked to paraphrase. You should change both the structure of the statement as well as the vocabulary or word choice. And finally, an effective paraphrase should sound like you. We all have a unique voice when we speak or write. So when paraphrasing, let that voice shine through by using your own style and your own words. So for further review, there are additional resources for paraphrasing, including more examples posted in the course. We will review citing paraphrases in a later lesson. Always contact your professor if you have any questions. Thanks.